See that okay?
Yes. Good evening and welcome to the Allegheny Clarion Valley School Board Workshop meeting for February 13th, 2023. The AC Valley workshops are conducted virtually, and the link to access the workshop is always posted at acvsd.org website. During this workshop, I will provide the school board members with information that will help clarify agenda items, and please remember that the workshops are always open for discussion amongst the school board members. As a friendly reminder, please keep your mic turned off until you're ready to speak. And feel free to unmute if you have any questions throughout the workshop. And at this time, Madam Secretary, can you please conduct the roll call?
Patty Anderson. Carrie Armagost.
Here.
Megan Dreher.
Here.
Brady Fight. Diane Page.
Here.
Jeff Powell. Janine Stump.
Here.
Eric Sunling.
Here.
Kelly Tuberliger.
As noted, there was an executive session for personnel reasons on February 2nd, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. There's no public participation, and this evening we will have a presentation by the ECCHI Insurance Group, and they'll be jumping on at 6:30. So we'll keep an eye open for them, and I'll move down through the workshop agenda. At this time, I'll open it up to see if there's any board concerns. Moving down into the consent agenda, I'd like to direct your attention to page 6. We have 12 field trips and 4 conferences in front of you this evening. Starting off, we have our annual kindergarten trip to the Erie Zoo. They put in, take 2 buses and a group of students and some parent volunteers. As noted, if you see a PTO member, please thank them for all their time and energy and effort that goes into our programming, because they covered the cost of just over $1,000 for that trip. 6th grade, they put in to take the students up to the Clarion County Career Center. This is an annual trip. They'll be doing that on March 28th, 1 bus, and it's just the cost of the bus going up and back. Mrs. Lipnichin, she put in to take her students from the student government seminar class to Penn West University to interact with local legislators and learn more about the judicial system. That's on March 9th. And there's just a cost of $166 along with the use of the school van. Andrea Stewart, business manager, and myself, superintendent, we went down to Patan West. It's located in Pittsburgh, and we participated in 1 of 3 workshops. We're actually, between the 2 of us, attended all 3 workshops this year and found them to be very valuable. This workshop was about developing and maintaining a balanced budget, estimating local, state, and federal revenues, determining local taxes, and controlling district expenditures. It was hosted by not only PASBO, but also PASA, and Sherry Smith, executive director, as well as Hannah Barrett and Tim Schramm was there to present. In addition to that, I submitted a request to attend a free educational school safety webinar in Cranberry, PA. There's no cost to the district. The director of the Center for Safe Schools, Joey Melvin, will be there. He'll be presenting information that's related to safety topics, services available to schools, and a discussion about safety enhancements. In addition to that, I put in for the annual PARS conference. Just keep in mind that PARS is one of the 6 organizations suing the state for fair funding for underprivileged students across the state. There's an agenda attached to this request. We will have Hannah Barrett there to present. Tim Schramm will be presenting. In addition to that, we have a federal legislative panel that comes in. AASA will be sponsoring that. That's our organization across America. And then Terry Madonna will be there to talk about the midterm elections. And then there will be a lawsuit update from Michael Churchill. He's the chief attorney who's been hearing the case throughout. So that should be a good conference. And hopefully with that lawsuit, it favors all the students in the state of Pennsylvania. On page 2, you'll see Mrs. Lowe. She put in to do a college tour where she's actually going to Westminster and Grove City on February 23rd. She'll be using the school van as well as one of Myers transportation vans. Jennifer Stover and Mrs. Lowe, they put in to do career shadowing at Venango County Courthouse. They'll be taking the school van up there and a handful of students. Joe Graff and RJ Fight, they submitted a request on behalf of the high school to take a group of students to Triangle Tech for a post-secondary options tour. And then you'll see at the bottom of the page 7, we have the PBIS team from the junior senior high school. They put in a request to go to River Intermediate Unit number 6 up in Clarion to do more training on Tier 2 PBIS. And just keep in mind that PBIS is the upside down triangle, where Tier 1, theoretically, you can work with 75 to 80% of your students, and you do that through building-wide supports, such as walking in the hallway, don't yell during the cafeteria, lunchtime. And Tier 2 is a little bit more specialized, where you'll be targeting, or we'll be targeting, more of the at-risk students, the smaller group of populations that need some additional support. So we've been doing a good job as far as implementing the Tier 1, and now it's time to ramp up to Tier 2. On page 8, we have Mrs. White and her Give Club. They submitted 2 requests to volunteer and help out at Robbins Home Thrift Store in Butler, and then Meckling Shakely Veterans Program, where they drop off coffee. And they've been doing that for a good number of years. In addition to that, you'll see the PBI's team from the high school. They submitted a request to go to Urban Air Cranberry Township Trampoline Park. And as you can see, the students will be paying some. It's a school van and 4 buses, $4,600 paid by students and $1,450 paid for the district. Keep in mind that's a reward for students at the junior senior high school who has had no infractions at all. Continuing on, we do have 2nd grade, Mrs. Quell and Mrs. Cashdollar. They submitted a request to go to the Clarion County Park in Shippensville. And again, that's being paid for by the PTO. Mrs. Logue, she'll be taking a group of students to the Student Leadership Conference. They'll be learning leadership skills as well as alcohol, drug prevention, and ongoing education. And then you'll see also Julie Raybuck, who's very active with AmeriCorps, working with our students that go out into co-op, as well as some of the students that come down to the elementary to do tutoring. And it's pretty neat to see the high school kids come down every day to work with the younger students. And it's kind of our grassroots effort to try to enhance students going into education. With that being said, she will be taking a group of 9 students who are AmeriCorps workers to Harrisburg for an overnight trip for AmeriCorps Awareness Week. And Julie's taken trips in the past, and I'm sure all those students are going to benefit from that trip. Are there any questions on the field trips and conferences that we presented to you this evening? Okay, back up to the first page, Aaron. Letter B is a handful of substitutes. We do have Beth Pence. She's put in a request to be a guest teacher and also help out with the secretary positions. And then Jessica Baum, she'll be a guest teacher as well. Letter C is a request from the boys and JV and varsity basketball booster group to hold their annual banquet in the elementary cafetorium on April 16th. Keep in mind that is a Sunday from 3:30 to 8. That would be set up and clean up as well. And I know Sundays are tough to open up the buildings, but a lot of times that's the only time that we can get all the kids and families and everybody together. Letter D is the girls varsity basketball boosters. They submitted a request. Use the cafetorium on Sunday, February 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. We also have 2 requests from student council and Melinda Farrington. First, she put in to use the elementary cafetorium on February 18th for the Sadie Hawkins dance, and then also to use the high school gymnasium on either Wednesday the 22nd or Thursday the 23rd for the Macho volleyball game. She chose those 2 dates just to work around potential playoffs. And then moving down through, we have a couple unpaid leave requests down to letter J, and then we have a few volunteers here for you to approve. Letter K is Alan Eaton to volunteer for the varsity boys baseball team. Alan was a wonderful athlete and a fantastic young man, and it's great to have him working with our kids. Klein Twilliger, you've seen that he resigned as a paid coach, but he still wants to stay on with the football team to be a volunteer. Klein's helped out with that program for a good number of years, and we're glad to have him still stick around in a volunteer capacity. And then finally, letter M is Eric Rothen. He's our volunteer nurse that goes on the senior trip, and he's done that for a handful of years and does a really nice job. Not only provides additional supervision, but him being a nurse, he's able to help distribute and transport the medication for the students if there are any students that require medication. Are there any questions from the consent agenda? Under finance and purchase, I'll direct your attention to letter J. That's an approval for the audit from Mark Turnley. Keep in mind that Mark was here and presented the end of year audit findings. even though our budget isn't where we want it, the good news is that there was no findings. The business office is functioning according to auditing standards, and that's just our approval. Letter K is a donation from Matter CPA LLC of $100 to the AC Valley Art Department. Letter L is a donation from the Pittsburgh Regional Food Service Directors. That's to our backpack program at the elementary. And Mrs. Redding as well as Mrs. Daly are aware of the donation, and we're working together to support that program and continue to feed our students. And letter M, this came down from Mr. Fight from the high school, is category 2 funding, and it's for the E-rate. AC Valley will begin the application process for E-rate category 2 funding for the 23-24 school year to improve and update the internal connections in both the high school and the elementary schools, including the PoE 48 port switches and the UPS rack mounted smart backup power supply units. Keep in mind that just because we're submitting this request doesn't necessarily mean that we will be following through and purchasing everything. So just keep in mind that E-rate pays about 70% of total cost of whatever we choose to purchase. This year, with those items listed above, just under $20,000, $19,400 estimated at this time for the E-rate application. And then finally, letter N, that's part of our Safe Schools grant that we've been working on. And I guess 160 schools got funded today, but we have not received our letter. With that being said, we do have a motion down. It was verbally approved that we can purchase a Chevy Equinox to be used here within the district. We'll use it with Officer Sittler. The attendance officer as well as the school counselors could use it for home visits. The school nurses will be able to use it, and it'll be quite active throughout the day. The grant has a line item of just about $31,000, which is equal to the cost of this Equinox. Local Chevy dealer does have 4 on stock right now. Once we get the written letter, then we'll be able to move forward with that purchase. So in an effort to eliminate any kind of further delay, we're asking your permission to purchase this vehicle, add it to our fleet, and move forward sooner than later. Keep in mind too that while we're talking about the vehicles, we also have in our ESSER 3 grant money contingent to purchase a updated school van. So we're still working on trying to find that particular van, working with Mark Milford. Once we're able to locate another van, we'll be updating that as well. So we've been pretty effective with our use of grants. Are there any questions on finance and purchase before I move on?
I have a question. And
Sure.
I understand, this is Patty. I understand that the purchase of that vehicle is under a grant, but is it like, I don't know how to phrase this, so just bear with me. Is it a best practice to purchase a car for what you're discussing using it for, or is there a reason you can't do compensatory mileage rate back to whoever would need it from that same budget? Because the ownership of the car has inherent additional costs. What is the practice, the free and accepted practice for that? I'm asking. Just
with this particular grant, it's new to us, Patty. We had one for mental health as well as school safety. So Andrea Stewart, as well as Carrie Longo and myself, was able to get into the PCCD site, and we had a wish list of everything that we thought we needed. We brought it in front of the safety committee, and we had to purchase everything that was bringing us up to tier 1 within their requirements. And then if we had everything in tier 1, we were able to move up into tier 2. And one of the items that we were able to do was purchase vehicles.
Okay, and what else is in tier 2?
I don't have that in front of me right now. Andrea, can you speak on that behalf? I'm not hearing anything from Andrea. So, Patty, I don't have tier 2. There, for example, we put in to get window covering. So we were going to theoretically put window film in front of both the elementary and high school entrances so that you could see out, but theoretically you couldn't see in. That was a tier 2 purchase and it was denied.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I don't have which I don't know why it was denied, because I thought it was a fantastic idea and we could have put our logo up there and everything else. We had it bid out and everything, but regardless, we just thought that within the campus and a lot of times this vehicle is going to be used by officers sit there to transfer between the two buildings, because at one time we had a school police officer in both buildings. Now we only have one, and we thought it could expedite it if we did have an emergency at one building or the other, that he could jump in the building and go up to.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks for
Thank
asking
you.
those questions. Sure. Any other questions out there, or any further information from you, Patty, that you need?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Moving down into personnel. As you've seen earlier, Beth Penn's put in to be on the sub list. She was currently a part-time aide, and she submitted her letter of resignation just to shift and work in a different capacity. And at this time, with our current staffing and the student needs, we will not be making a recommendation to replace that position. Letter B, as I've referred to earlier, is a letter of resignation from Klein Twilliger, from a paid varsity football coach. He's going to stay on as a volunteer, but we'll have to also advertise for that position. And letter D is a request to advertise for a long-term sub in the cafeteria. We currently have a staff member who's off work and will not be back in until the fall. So we have a vacancy in there that we're struggling to fill currently. Letter E is a motion to approve Ashley Miller moving from the autistic support life skills classroom into the vacated intervention specialist special education teacher that Jamie Simpson had resigned from. We posted that internally. We had our bidding meeting, and Ashley submitted her letter as well as the bid. We'll be advertising under letter F to fill that K-6 autistic support life skills classroom vacancy internally, and then we'll go back through the bidding process in-house as well. We'll be doing that sometime here in the spring. And the reason why we haven't moved everybody around is to try to maintain as much consistency as possible. And we want to make sure that the students are having the best educational experience possible. We've developed relationships and understand student needs, and also working with their parents. So it was collectively agreed upon amongst the association as well as the administration to make these moves at the beginning of the 23-24 school year. And then also we'll reevaluate the number of students that we have down here at the elementary and decide how many teachers per grade level we will have. And hopefully everything will fall into accordance. Letter G is a motion to hire Jamie Preston as the junior high baseball coach at a salary of $878 a season. And then letter H is to hire Dean Whitmer as the junior high softball coach at the same salary. In addition to that, the athletic committee is recommending hiring Leo Marin as the boys varsity golf coach. With his experience, it would be $1,510. And then the athletic committee is also working. We have another position that we'll probably have in front of you for Monday's voting meeting, and that's to fill the girls' head golf coaching position as well. Letter J, we advertised for the junior high volleyball coaching position. We had an inquiry from Michaela Manros, and we have not been able to reach out to her. So we're still trying to get a hold of her to see if she's going to continue on with that initial inquiry. And hopefully we'll be able to fill that position as well. And letter K is a MOA between the district and Scott DeTulio. With our band co-op going to union, we're separating the marching band and concert band positions. As you'll see a little bit later on, we have 2 job descriptions outline that. But this MOU or MOA is an outline of that separation. And it was discussed today amongst the administration as well as the association. And letter L, we have 2 applicants for the weight room supervisor position. That's 3 hours per day while school's in session, and that's a minimum wage position. And then finally, under personnel, we have letter M, which is a motion to hire a secretary accounts payable position down here in the district office. The salary would be prorated. It's $32,500 for the 22-23 school year. We had roughly 30 people apply for the position. We had 6 people on the first round of interviews, and then we're taking the top 2 people and we'll be moving them in front of the school board. We'll have an interview before the 20th and then make a recommendation to hire that evening. We had a number of very qualified candidates. Everybody did great during the first round of interviews, and we're hoping to fill that position with the right person. Are there any questions or comments under personnel before we move on into instructional services? Instructional services, as I had referred to earlier, we do have a concert band director job description and marching band liaison job description in front of you to approve. We've worked on that throughout the school board. We've had a lot of input. We feel as if that encompasses both positions, and we're ready to separate and move on for 23-24 school year. And then in addition to that, I have the 23-24 district calendar in front of you in February. We've been working up at the Career Center as well as the other 6 school districts, 7 total, 6 school districts and me, and creating a schedule that's aligned to the Career Center. And looking over the Career Center, there's only one day out of next year that we may or may not be in session along with them, and that's a snow makeup day that they have scheduled for March 28th. So we're pretty closely aligned. It's a similar calendar as last year. We'll begin on August 21st and 22nd with in-service days with the staff. Students' first day would be August 23rd. We'll be off for Labor Day on Monday, September 4th. And then in October, we have ALF Day on Friday, October 6th. And similar to last year, we're going to have an Act 80 Day that encompasses open house as well that evening. So this year we brought in the teachers half the day, and then we opened up, and there was lots of families and people in both buildings. So we'd like to continue on with that. Thanksgiving will be November 23rd until November 28th. We'll have a Act 80 Day on November 28th. December will be from Monday the 25th through January 2nd. And we'll have an Act 80 Day on January 15th and February 19th. March, we have 2 snow makeup days as a long weekend on March 8th and March 11th. And then we'll have Easter break on Friday, March 29th through Tuesday, April 2nd. April 2nd will be a snow makeup day too if we need it. And then April 19th will be a snow makeup day. And then throughout May, we'll have the last student day on Friday, May 24th. So with all that being said, we have 4 days of snow makeup days built into the calendar, and we have 4 Act 80 days built into that calendar as well. Just keep in mind that those Act 80 days count as a day, and that takes us to 180 days needed according to school code for the year, 990 hours at the high school, and 900 hours at the elementary. Are there any questions about that calendar? And just keep in mind, school board members, you have that in your Google Drive, and you can take a look at it as well. I think it's in pretty good shape right now that we can continue on with it and start planning for next school year. Under policies, we have a number of them this evening, and I'm going to just highlight a few areas We have the second reading of policy 700. Keep in mind, that's the use of school facilities, which we were able to develop an hourly fee schedule for the use of our facilities. Just keep in mind, we will not be charging any of our nonprofit school-related activities. This is more so for outside groups coming in wanting to use our facilities. We've never had a grid. I was able to collect a lot of information from the local school districts and come up with a financial grid for renting out certain parts of the district. Policy 800, second reading, or 801, and that's electronic signatures. Just keep in mind, it's a paperless means of committing to a contract or other document in a manner that indicates the signer's intent to bind themselves and or the district. So as stated before, we do a lot of IEP meetings electronically, and that ensures our compliance and supports some of the audits that we had about special education. We also have updated policy 011, principles of governance and leadership. There's a number of standards that we're to follow. For example, lead responsibly, collaborate with the superintendent, acknowledging their role as the 10th member of the board and commission officer of the Commonwealth, act ethically, recognize school district directors do not pass any authority outside of a collective board group. There's a whole host of items. I'm just pulling out a few from each of the areas. Plan thoughtfully, implement and collaborate strategically with the planning process, evaluate continuously, be sure to make data-based decisions, communicate clearly, promote open, honest, and respectful dialogue amongst the board staff and the community, advocate earnestly, promote public education as a keystone of our Commonwealth, and govern effectively. Remain focused on the role of the governance, effectively delegating management tasks to the administration. And I see we have our insurance group coming in at this particular time. We have Ms. Jan Neeson, Ms. Andre Thomas, and Mr. Howard from the ECCHI group. And at this time, I'll pause on the policies and turn it over to Mr. Thomas.
It's Howard Danza. Can you hear me, Dr. McDevitt?
Yes, I can.
All right. Andre Thomas is getting this loaded up for us, and we should be ready to go here in just a minute. We're good to go now? Okay. There we go. Then you're going to go back and get this. Oh, you're going to do it here? Okay. Hey, good evening, and Dr. McDevitt, thank you for setting this up. Let's see, there we go. I want to tell you a little bit about us, and this might be a little bit repetitive for some of you on the meeting, but let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. You want to go to the next slide, Andre? This is a little article that's been written about us in Forbes and Fortune magazine about the way we look at things differently, and I'm going to explain that in just a second. Do you want to go to the next slide? That's me on the left, my associate Heather Ambro that runs the administrative side of the business is in the middle. Jan Nissen is on the right, and Andre Thomas, who runs our meeting with us here, is right there at the bottom. Let me tell you who we are, what my background is, and then I want to give you just a little bit of a foundation and then show you the actual numbers. But I'm a former business owner that got quite fed up and disturbed about the manner in which we're paying for healthcare through package premiums that are controlled by the insurance companies who have little or no accountability with regard to showing us what we're paying for, what our price is, or understanding the process whatsoever. So I put together a team that is comprised of medical professionals and pharmacy professionals and insurance professionals whose resources are accessed the same way large employers access theirs. My background is accounting and cost management. It's not insurance. And this is not an insurance issue that is where we solve the cost of escalating healthcare with premiums that are paid to intermediaries that hide the actual cost and actual elements of what comprises our benefit plan. So what I want to do here is I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about process. Nobody's paying any attention to the process of pricing and billing healthcare, and thereby ending up in the hands of insurance companies to bill us for premiums to pay for it with. We're going to the result before we get to the process, and I want to explain the system to you and then explain the numbers to you. We're going to insurance agents to buy healthcare. We need to change that a little bit. So let me explain what the dynamics are underlying what you see as premium and underlying what you see as a quote. We want to pay attention to the actual costs and get the middlemen out of the way way large employers do. And then we can, talk about terminology. But the reality is there's a cost of healthcare, there's a cost of medical services, there's a cost of prescription drugs, and we need to get to the best cost. And we don't do that by adding premiums to it. So let me give you a little bit of a foundation. Anybody that's got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And no matter how basic you think that question is, if I can answer a question and clear up something that may not be understandable, please interrupt. So this is what's wrong. Every group plan goes through a process of getting quotes for insurance premiums. That's what you've been used to doing. Nobody pays any attention to the complex process of the pricing and billing for medical services that goes on under the surface and the primary pharmacy cost. And between the two of those activities, those two categories of expense, that's what really determines health insurance premiums. That's a problem. Nobody knows the process. What's missing is this. Few, if any, groups have any kind of detailed itemized reporting and pricing of actual medical and pharmacy services versus the premiums being charged to pay for it with. Unless you know what your costs are, there's no way to control them. Unless you know what the costs are and what you're buying, there's no way to get any value. That's a bigger problem. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is an actual summary page of claims activity for one of our groups. The column that's the third one from the left that says amount of claim. Every entry in that column represents an actual bill for actual services that is rendered by a medical provider. Every plan has a medical network attached to that program. The function of that network is to arrange discounts agreed to by the docs. The amount allowed column is the actual institutionally discounted price for those same services. Now, an employer, particularly one the size of you, pays for this in one of two ways, or can pay for this in one of two ways. Either control the portion of the premium that represents the reserve for claims and buy through the system at the discounted price, or from the system with a premium reflective of the amount of claim price or the billed price. The billed price is a retail price. The discount price is a wholesale price. Let me show you the process. The cost of medical services is connected to a network. As I pointed out, the function of this network is to contract discount costs for medical services. No, that we don't want to go there. We want to go, all right. This is what happens. The providers sell their services to a network at a discount. That's step one. The insurance companies buy these services from the network at a discount. That's step two. The groups then buy the services from the insurance companies with a premium, which is approximately a 30 to 40% markup from the actual cost of service, which is vended to the insurance system at a discount. Now, if the employer is in a position to go through the system and access those same services at the network price, you buy exactly the same thing for exactly the same services from exactly the same docs from the network at a discount. Let's go to the next. This is the process. The docs and the medical facilities bill the network. The network reprices and discounts the bill and sends it to the insurance company. The insurance company marks it up to a premium. The groups pay the premium. You bypass the premium as much as possible, control that money, and buy through the system from the network, costs go down. The greater degree an employer does that, the better value they get with their dollar, the better buying power they have with that dollar, and the more stable their affordability becomes. Let's go on to the next process. Now let's talk about the process of pharmacy. I understand that you have a pharmacy professional on your board. Any of this information that I talk about the pharmacy with regard to this segment, please take this information to her and see if in fact this isn't what's going on. I might point out that the pharmacy component of your benefit plan is a fixed expense because the pharmacy is essentially maintenance drugs almost entirely. So if you have a diabetic on your plan, they're going to be a diabetic no matter what. And as a result, we need to be able to get the expertise of a pharmacy professional to be able to get the best value and best price to meet that need. Not insurance companies that sell this service to us at a premium. So this is what happens. The insurance companies own or contract a middleman known as a pharmacy benefit management company. United Healthcare owns their own. They own Optum. That's their pharmacy management company. Aetna owns their own. That's Caremark. Cigna owns Express Scripts. Blue Cross owns Prime Therapeutics and IngenioRx and has interest in others. The PBMs, the pharmacy benefit management companies, arrange pricing to the group that inflates the cost of the prescription from what they pay that pharmacist to what's buried in premium. Let me show you. The retail pharmacy is underpaid by the PBM. Then after the purchase is made at the local pharmacy, they send that claim to the PBM for processing because there is a need for them to get paid through the system. The PBM then sends a request after marking up the cost of that prescription for the plan, and they send that inflated request to the insurance carrier. The insurance carrier who's selling you this prescription with their premium marks it up again to your plan. You don't see any of this behind the scene. You only see a copay. You don't see the process. And therefore, the group is buying the prescription with premium from the insurance carrier at a substantial markup to what the actual cost is. So a solution, what large employers do, is what small employers can do. Wherever possible, you work directly with your local independent pharmacy, cut out the middlemen. To get access, and you set them up as a preferred provider. To get access to the rest of the pharmacy world, you contract directly with an independent PBM. We have a pharmacy benefit advisor or consultant who came right out of this PBM world and works directly with our small employers, and he has shown them how to be able to traverse this this labyrinth of middlemen and eliminate as much of this excess cost as possible. Large employers eliminate the middlemen. Let's go forward. So the process of pricing an insurance premium is very simple. Insurance companies, based on what medical conditions are identifiable, do not fashion a premium to absorb the cost of identifiable medical conditions and medical needs at a price less than what you are going to charge them for what they know they're going to have to pay for. It's a cost plus component of your premium. Then they add an additional premium for taking the risk for what they don't know. So now take the cost of medical needs based on identifiable conditions, identifiable pharmacy costs, plus their markup, add a premium for taking a risk for what they don't know, add a premium for their administrative costs, and that's your premium. Now, in step number one, if an employer controls the funding that heretofore is premium for identifiable needs and access those same needs through the system at network pricing for medical services and net pricing for pharmacy, and the cost of insuring against an unforeseen major event is minimized, and you minimize the cost of administrative costs by contracting both of these direct, the cumulative cost of what this represents is a fraction of what you're paying in premium to do the same thing. Let's go forward. So the solution is control the claims reserve for the identifiable needs, minimize the cost of insurance that you hire them to take a risk for, contract the administrative services directly, and buy through the system from the networks, providers, pharmacies, and administration as much as possible. And above all else, know your cost and eliminate middlemen. That lowers the cost. Now let's get into some numbers. From what the information is that we have been given, your current premium is $174,000 a month. Now, what I did when I was a business owner is I set a budget equal to what my premium was at the time that I changed the way I was doing things. And I kept my benefits exactly the same. But I eliminated the insurance carrier controlling the funds for identifiable needs and affordable needs. And therefore, I reduced the cost of each service on a per service basis markedly. I was able to keep my budget unchanged for the next 5 years, and the benefits the same, and I accumulated some material surpluses, and this goes back some years. And I did this for 25 employees and independents. So let's just see some comparatives here. Premiums are going up about 10% a year. I used a 5% increase in premium per year based on your current premium. Over the next 5 years, if your premium goes up 5% a year, you're committing $11,500,000 in premium without accountability as to what you're buying to a third party. Now, if we change the way this is set up, I'm going to show you the actual offer from the carrier in just a second, but I want you to see comparative numbers. If we eliminate the control of reserve for claims from the control of the insurance carrier, your fixed premium, based on the census I was given, to buy insurance that reflects major coverage is $30,750 a month, or $368,000 for the year. Over a 5-year period, the cumulative difference from hard dollars to soft dollars is $9.5 million. The way this is set up is no single accumulation of claims for any individual will take more than $50,000 out of that fund. We just had a group come through and had an $850,000 claim last year for a premature baby. They were out of it after the first 60. The carrier picked up the rest. That baby's fine now, and that impact, it was a non-factor for this upcoming year because we're insuring this year, not paying back last year. You want to go to the next slide? So the employer stop loss, we're using it in this model of $50,000. The difference in premium between your current premium and the premium for basic insurance is $1,720,000. No single accumulation for any individual in the course of that policy year can take more than $50,000 out of that $1,720,000. Now, what we've experienced over the years, and I'll show you evidence of this, is that the percentage of people in any of the groups, given any 2 or 3 year period, that's hit 20,000 or more, including dependents, has fallen to a range of 0 to 3% of those participants. What we don't know is how large a claim can get, like that $850,000 claim for the baby. That's insurance. But ongoing expense needed for diabetic control, arthritic control, heart medicine or anything like that, or planned procedures that the carrier knows you're going to have, that's not insurance, that's funding. Now we need to get to the best price. Let's go forward. We want to keep the benefits exactly the same. The current employee deductible is $400. That's not going to change. The current employee out of pocket is $63.50. That's not going to change unless you want it to. The current premium is $174,000 a month. So let's see what happens if we have large claims, and then I want to show you the same model where your budget year to year will remain the same. Let's take a $10,000 claim. The employee pays the first $400. The plan pays the next $9,600. That $9,600 comes from fund number 1 of $1,720,000. We have $1,710,000 left. If we have a $100,000 claim, the employee pays the first $400. The plan pays the next $50,000. The insurance pays the balance. We have $1,670,000 left. Andre, can we go to the next slide? All right, now let's take your current premium, $2,088,000 a year. No increase in your budget, because when I say this, many of the groups that we're working with have the same budget for benefits today as the premium they were paying 5 years ago. I can back that up by putting you in touch with them. Same benefits, surpluses that they accumulate. There's plenty of money here where it appears to me that you can keep the budget the same, $2,088,000 over the next 5 years. That means the employee is paying 5 years from now is contributing what they're contributing now. The employer is funding what they're funding now, and the benefits that you have now are the same. But still, everything is relative to what premium would have been in the first place, and this will always be less. Let's take our same, premium, and let's inflate ours 5% a year. And we still have $8.5 million to work with over that 5 years. No single accumulation of claims is going to take more than $50,000 out of this. There's plenty of money here to work with if it's used properly. This is not an exercise in getting into a tug of war over quotes and self-fund and this fund and everything else. The reality is there's a need for health care, there's a cost of health care, there's a need for prescriptions, there's a cost of prescriptions, and that is what's not being attended to. We're looking at premiums. Let's go to the next slide. If we reduce your budget by 10% and keep that flat for the next 5 years, it appears that there's a possibility that that also might be able to come to pass depending upon what your activity is. But there's so much spread between hard dollars in premium and soft dollars in funding with a cap that doesn't disproportionately impact that fund that it appears that we might be able to start this off 10% less than where your current premium is now, instead of going up 5, 10, or 15% every year. If we have more information, we'll be able to be a lot more accurate here. But looking at raw numbers, I've done this in the past because the raw numbers say this and then the facts bear it out. You want to go on? Okay. So here is where we get those numbers from. let's take a look at, option number 3. You'll take a look at, you see in option number 3, it says illustrative because we don't know what the final enrollment will be. And consequently, based on what we have right now, this illustrates what we're talking about. You'll notice in the right at the top, it says Concur Zurich. Zurich is the insurance company. They are not a health insurance company. They are an insurance company that takes risk, among other things, for medical stop loss. That's part of their portfolio. They also write all types of other commercial risk also, product liability, property and casualty, etc. This is their health insurance stop loss marketplace. Concur is what's known as a managing general underwriter. Zurich and companies like Zurich hire those companies to price the risk and therefore share in the risk, share in the loss, share in the profit. Cigna is not the insurance company, but Cigna has a nationwide network that has arranged discounts all over the country, including where your market is. It's that network that initially is what we're using. So that means that we will position your plan, if we use the Cigna network, to pay for healthcare services used at the same discounted price that Cigna would pay in behalf of their policyholders. The Cigna network can be used for independent plans. The actual cost of insurance is in that middle section. Those are the factors. $305,000 for the year. The actual cost of administration is in the second, the next section down. The cost of administration is $26 a month per employee, whether it's a single or a family, it's the same price. Add to that $3 a month per employee, and that allows the administrator to manage your COBRA plan. The cost of accessing the Cigna network and the contracts and discounts that they've arranged is $21 a month and change per employee, whether it's a single or a family. And right under that, AHH is a medical review organization that is contracted by Cigna and contracted by the administrator. The name of the administrator is IPMG. They're on the front sheet. We'll show you that in a minute. So that's your fixed cost, $368,000 for the year, monthly $30,750 as I showed you. That's where we got that. Now, the benefits you have will remain the same. The docs you go to will remain the same. Everything remains the same. The process is, very, very simple now. Let's take this, and there are a number of nuances to this that we won't get into the details this evening, but this is the framework, going forward. Andre, you want to just go to the front page here so they can see where the IPMG came from? No, the face page to this. There you go. This is prepared by IPMG. They are located in St. Charles, Illinois, right outside of Chicago. They are the funnel that handles all of the claims activity, keeps you in compliance of all state and federal functions. All right. Now, what I want to do is I want to go to the aggregate reports and show them the stop loss, and then I want to go to the process. I want to show you something now with regard to what happens if you have large claims. Keep going. There we go. Can we go to the one that has the $800,000 claim? That's good enough. Okay. The one that has the $800,000 claim, though, is a bigger group. That's not it. Keep going. That's good enough. There we go. All right. Here's a group size very close to yours. They had very, very big claims. They have approximately 82 people on their plan right now. Now, if they paid a premium, column number 2 shows what their year-to-date premium would have been, which is their budget. They control that money. Now, this group had some large claims. And if you take a look at column number 3, the total claims year-to-date in this past year was $1,175,000, double what their budget is. So if you just look at that alone, you immediately react, boy, we should have bought insurance, but they did. If you'll go to the middle section and you'll see a shaded area and it says individual specific amount 50,000. That 50,000 is the point at which insurance takes over. To lower their costs, we put another little wrinkle in there where they share in an additional 25,000. That's their choice. They had 2 people that went over 50,000 this past year. You'll see those claims in the middle section, right in that shaded rectangle. One claim was 55,000, one claim was 837,000. If you go to the right-hand section of that box, you'll see that the carrier picked up a good portion of that. After the carrier paid their share, the employer is in column number 5. The employer's responsibility out of that $1,170,000 was $352,000. Their funding or budget was $566,000. They keep the spread. There's a point at which insurance takes over, and the number of people that hit large claims is very, very concise. Section 4 shows how many people got more than halfway to that 50,000. We have a number of other examples like this on our slides, but I don't want to take all of your time tonight and go over each one, but I wanted to give you the flavor of what I'm talking about. So here's how the process then works. You want to go to the pathway? Go to the pathway. Okay. Here's how the system works. We want to lower the health insurance cost by doing what we said. That will stabilize your benefit and improve the value of your health insurance dollar and allow you to customize your plan to use your money as relevantly as you can and as you see fit. So therefore, as far as the employer is concerned, you want to go forward? Set your budget at the current premium level. In some cases, less than the current cost level. Keep the benefits and providers unchanged. Contract directly with medical networks, third-party administrator services, PBMs, pharmacy, and major insurance protection, and control the reserve for claims to pay for things at institutionally discounted prices. Want to go forward? You'll only pay for services used at the discount. You won't pre-fund for services. You'll know your cost. You keep the spread. Now let's talk about the process for the participant, which is very important. All right. The employee is going to experience absolutely no change in procedure whatsoever. The benefits and doctors will remain the same. The employee is going to have an ID card, the same as they do now. It will indicate to the docs where they send the claim. It will be to the network. The employee will present that card at the doc or provider. The doc will then bill the network. Want to go forward? The network will discount that claim and send it to the administrator. The administrator will process that claim and will send the group an itemized accounting of all the claims incurred during that period. Generally, group pays claims on a weekly basis, sometimes on a bi-weekly basis, once a month, the first and the 15th of the month, whatever you want to set up. Upon receiving these itemized accounting, the group will then release the funds for the cumulative amount of those claims for that period to the administrator, and the administrator will then pay the claim to the provider, with the EOBs going to the patient. So instead of sending a premium to your insurance account that somebody else controls, you'll send the cost of insurance alone to that third party, and you'll send to your own insurance account the actual funding that heretofore would have gone to the insurance carrier, and you will keep that spread. I want to, give you a little bit of, evidence as to further why this is important, and then we'll take some questions. You want to go to the article from Iowa on the pharmacy? There we go. Yeah, there you go. Look, this was an article I believe I had sent to you, but a lot of you may not have seen it. This is an article that was sent to us by an independent pharmacy in outstate Missouri that came from an independent pharmacy in outstate Iowa. A vigilant pharmacy, in just the very first paragraph, will tell the story, and I'll send this on to you so that you can validate this. CVS Caremark is owned by Aetna. The county insurance plan by Caremark was charged $198 for a prescription that Caremark and Aetna paid the local pharmacist $5 for. That's happening to you. That spread, that markup is happening to you. When you buy these things blind from the system, not understanding the process within the system, that's happening to you. Take this to your local pharmacist, particularly the one connecting to your district, and see if, in fact, this isn't what's going on, where the process is overcharging, these plans. These companies are making more money on pharmacy than they are on their own premiums. Want to go to the next slide? We took this right out of a Blue Cross policy. Every policy that every company that has a pharmacy component where they own the PBM has this provision. In a very top paragraph, it says Blue Cross gets discounts, and they specifically state they don't share it with the group. It's not just Blue Cross. Aetna does the same. United Healthcare does the same. Cigna does the same. We're using the Cigna Medical Network only, not their pharmacy. You want to go to the next one? This is an actual report from United Healthcare. In the right-hand column, the second paragraph, Optum is their pharmacy component. They're reporting that they're making more than half their income just on pharmacy. And they do that by controlling these funds, selling you prescriptions at marked up premium prices without your understanding the process underneath it. We need to deal with the process underneath the veneer, which is the premiums overcharging us. Let's go forward. This is an article that came from Business Week about Caterpillar Tractor. They saved tens of millions of dollars by bypassing the PBMs and insurance companies and working with the local pharmacy community. You can save tens and tens of thousands, probably six figures, by doing what they're doing. That's what we're trying to show you, what others are doing, what can be done, what you're not being shown, what you need to be shown. It's your call whether you feel that spread belongs to the carrier or to your community. You want to go to the, there we go. Let's just take the administrative cost alone. Your administrative cost is, just rounding it up, $30 per month per employee. The cost of administration was $26. The COBRA was 3, just rounded up to 30. You have 97 people on your plan, just round that up to 100. That's $3,000 a month or $36,000 a year. This press release was put out by Health and Human Services back in 2016. It's still true today. If you go 2/3 of the way down the page, there are 3 bullet points, and the middle bullet point says general administrative costs 19%. So the Health and Human Services put this press release out there and said under the ACA Act, these insurance companies are building 19% into premium for administrative cost. 19% of $2 million is $380,000. $30 a month for administrative costs, per employee is $36,000. There's a $250,000 difference in just the administrative cost alone. It doesn't make any difference whose name is on your check, whether it's Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross, United Healthcare, the district, IPMG. It doesn't make any difference. The claims you generate are going to be exactly the same. So whether you pay $36,000 to hire an administrator to pay the same claims to the same doctors with the same software for the same services, or build a $250,000 cost into a premium that is retained by the insurance carrier, your claims are going to be the same, and the quality of service is going to be the same. So who writes the check has nothing to do with healthcare. So we advocate getting these people out of the way and getting to core cost. We greatly appreciate being able to share this with you. We greatly appreciate having the opportunity and privilege to be able to point this out. And I would hope that we've had the opportunity to plant a seed and take any questions anybody has. Dr. McDivitt, are there any questions? Have I made this understandable?
Yeah, Howard, I've been through it a couple of times now, so
Yeah, you have.
it's becoming more and more clear to me. And we do have a number of the school board members on the call right now, and
Sure.
maybe you did a really good job and there's no other questions. Is there anything for Howard?
I have one question.
Yes.
Have you ever had a doctor in Pennsylvania refuse to take your insurance?
Not in Pennsylvania. I mean, from time when you say take our insurance, have a doctor refuse to take the payment? And the answer is, if they don't take it through the system, and docs change. I'm not going to avoid the question. I want to be specific. Docs want to be paid. Now, docs have staff that are extremely beholden to form versus substance. So if they don't participate with whichever network we have, and they say, well, we don't take that insurance, well, do you take cash? Because you control the cash. So if they're out of network and they don't want to deal with the system, what we have done in numerous cases, and we had this go on in Kentucky just recently, we'll make a direct arrangement. The docs want to be paid, period. They just want to know who's going to pay the bill. So instead of going through this labyrinth of all these middlemen, it's a simple question of setting up a direct bill, direct pay. And so they direct bill the administrator, and they get paid directly when the claims are funded. And we've never had anybody turn that down. They just want to be paid. But there's just so many middlemen involved in this that we've made this thing too complex. It's really simple. There's a cost of healthcare. Docs want to be paid. They've gotten into this ocean, quite frankly, of middlemen, and they themselves would like to get out from under. there's a very, very a growing trend of direct primary care providers that won't take any insurance. So if we have it set up this way, they're glad to work with us because they're able to get everything paid and eligible under a plan controlled by an employer. So when you're in control of your money, any issue is solved. So we need to deinstitutionalize, not continue to institutionalize more and more. When you do deinstitutionalize, everything is solved, everything is cleared up. We've done that a number of times, Diane, where a doc would prefer to have a direct bill, direct pay if they could, and that's the trend throughout the country with large employers. So the answer to your question is, if they don't participate with that network, we can work it out on a direct basis. If institutions collectively cut ties with a given network, we can change networks literally within a week, and everybody's back in business. Just in Southern Illinois right now, the main hospital systems in Southern Illinois, Springfield being the capital, cut ties with Blue Cross. All the Blue Cross policyholders are out of network. Our groups have not been affected because they control their system. Their people are able to get to where they need to go without missing a beat. If they had Blue Cross has the money. They're having a cat fight with the main medical system and the other people on the outside looking in. Control your money, you control the system. You give up control of the money, you are subordinate to the system. Basic principle. I hope I answered your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, Howard, we do appreciate your time this evening and your team as well. And we're going to be sitting through a number of presentations here in the near future, and we'll be back in touch with you soon.
That sounds great. I'd be more than happy to come up and meet with all of you. And I might point out, Dr. Highmark, that one of the stop-loss carriers we work with, Dr. Highmark, I have Highmark on my mind, Dr. McDevitt.
That's okay.
One of the stop-loss carriers we work with is Highmark, which is the Blue Cross unit in Pennsylvania. They write stop-loss just like Zurich does. We use them. So Highmark, if you wish, would be the stop-loss carrier anyway, but they don't always give you the best value. But if label is very important, Highmark does this very thing, and we've used them. Okay.
I do have
Okay.
a question.
Yes, Andrea.
You currently are not working with any employers in Pennsylvania, is that correct?
That's correct.
So do you have a lot of experience with Pennsylvania doctors and their acceptance of the program?
Yes, and doctors in Pennsylvania no different than any other medical community. I mean, we have people in Kentucky. We as a consultant were not in Kentucky until these people sought to use our method, and we use the resources that the docs and the facilities connect to, but more importantly, the employer controls the cash. That is key. I mean, we're bringing peripheral issues into this issue, and I understand that. But when you control your money, you get to any doc you need to get to, because without your money to begin with, no insurance company is going to pay your bills anyway. So everything starts with the employer. None of these insurance companies have anything to do with healthcare. Docs want money, not labels, and all that can be worked out. So the answer to your question is, we've got clients in Kentucky, in Tennessee, in Ohio, in Iowa, in Nebraska, in Georgia, in Missouri, in Illinois, Kansas. It's all the same no matter where you go.
Howard, just to touch on that, the plan is through Cigna, right? Which is like a nationwide.
No, that's the network. The plan,
The network.
Cigna has nothing to do with administering your claims, determining benefits, or anything else. All we're doing is using the Cigna contracts that the docs have agreed to accept the Cigna negotiated discounts. Nothing more. They don't process your claims. They don't dictate benefits. They don't control your money. They don't handle your money. All we're doing is accessing the discounts they've arranged and paying the claims at the same price they would pay. That's all. And if there's a group of medical providers that don't accept Cigna, we can go to a different network, but we can work directly with those providers and oftentimes get better pricing than even with the network.
So I have a quick question.
Yeah,
I
Kim.
have maintenance drugs that I buy
Yes.
for 90 days.
Uh-huh.
Can I still get those from Walmart, or right now I go through CVS pharmacy? How does that play out?
The process is exactly the same. The only difference is that instead of using an insurance company owned PBM, and instead of paying the institutionally inflated pricing that goes on behind the scenes, you'll have a independent PBM who gives you access to exactly the same retail stores at lower pricing. But let me ask you something. Do you have an independent pharmacy in your community, do you not?
We do, yes.
Then, you'll get a better deal if you go to your independent. And the independent pharmacies are being, quite frankly, really, overburdened, and many of them are being put out of business because of the control that these institutions have, and the community money leaving the community to these large monoliths. Now, I'm not telling you have to change pharmacies, but I'm telling you that if you control your money, you're better served keeping the money in your community, working with your local vendors and your local resources, and you'll get better service and you'll get better value. We're doing it right now in communities just like yours, and it's a much more closely knit, hand in glove relationship. And that we're not telling you to change pharmacies, but we're telling you if you've got an independent in your community, you're going to get a better deal, better service, better advice, better everything. They should be your collaborative partner, not frozen out of the system. These large insurance companies are freezing the independents, the community-owned pharmacies, out of business by taking them out of their network even. And this forestalls that, and this is a way to improve things for everybody. But no, nothing would change as far as where you go.
So I have a question.
Yes, Diane.
Say, for instance, you need a medication on a weekend.
Uh-huh.
Can you still go to Walmart and get
Absolutely.
your medication or
Yes.
wherever?
Yes, you have that opportunity. You just set up your local pharmacy as a preferred provider. That's all. But you have access to every other pharmacy in the country 24/7. Anyway, still at better prices than with a premium.
I have another question, Howard. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So with this plan, would the district be required to do its own financial itemized accounting with all the claims that come in?
No, that's done by the administrator. The administrator will send you an itemized accounting of everything already. That's already done for you.
Yes, but we would have to do the accounting as far as the individuals and the accounts. Am I correct on that?
No, you're not. The administrator does that anyway. You will have access to that information, and you'll have access to all your cost information. Whatever privacy information you don't want to have access to, you don't have to. But the actual cost information, you should be demanding that, not questioning that. You should be asking how can I get more information? Without information, you can't control the cost. You don't buy anything in your district from any vendor as blindly through third parties as we buy healthcare. I was with a trucking company. I asked them, would you pull your trucks up to pumps for a fuel supplier if you didn't have cost per gallon and the metrics as to what you bought? And he just sent you a piece of paper that said, send me $50,000 this month because you bought a bunch of stuff. He said,
I
no.
guess I'm just thinking like a little differently on the
Yeah.
accounting process. I'm thinking like I have employee A, B, and C,
Yeah,
and I receive the bill
yeah,
for them. I
sure.
have to go in then and do my accounting on my end for those 3 individuals and their charges.
No, that's already done by the administrator, and we can provide that information at any time. But all that's done, accumulated and retained, classified and categorized by the administrator. That's all part of the deal.
I mean, employees are paid from different accounts within our system. So I would have to do financial tracking on that.
Now, when you say paid from different accounts, what do you mean exactly?
We have different account codes for different employees. So I would then need to know which employee we were paying a claim out on so that I could charge that account correctly.
Well, what you would charge your account, do your employees pay for any portion of this premium right now?
No.
All right, so how do you account for employee premium that you pay right now?
The premium is paid from that particular employee's pay code, accounting code.
Well, that remains the same. The only difference is that money goes into your insurance account that you control instead of the insurance company's insurance account that they control. That's all. And everything, all that remains exactly the same. You're not paying out of each individual employee's account. You're paying out of the insurance program account. The only difference is who controls the money. Everything's paid exactly the same way. So all that happens is you send a bundle of money to Blue Cross or wherever you're sending it, and the claims come in, they pay. And then they'll front the money to you if you go over, and then they get it back the next year. Now, or they keep the spread. Now, you'll do exactly the same thing. The only difference is you will send it to your insurance account, and the carrier is no longer going to control that money. The only portion of your budget that you send to the insurance company is for the insurance protection itself, not for the not for all the pre-funding of claims and activity. It operates exactly the same way it's operating now. The only difference is who controls the money. So you take the same cumulative dollars that you're allocating to an insurance company, put it in your own account. And then when you get the bill, so let's say you get a bill for 10 people who had $1,000 apiece. And each of these $1,000 was discounted to $600 apiece. And the cumulative bill is $6,000. $6,000 comes out of your insurance account to the administrator. They release the funds to the docs. That's exactly how it's operating now.
We don't have an insurance account right now.
No, you'd set that up.
Yeah, so it would require some work on our end.
Well, yeah, and quite frankly, Andrea, when these issues come up, my point of view, or I shouldn't even say point of view, my response is we're all concerned about the escalating cost of healthcare, but none of us want to be involved in the underlying complexities or the underlying management of this cost. And we're always looking for somebody else's lightning in the bottle gimmickry, if you will, to make the cost go away. There's a cost. We need to be involved. And unless we're willing to be involved, none of these third-party insurance institutions are going to make it go away. These companies are Wall Street creations. These companies are public companies. The higher the cost of healthcare, the more money their stockholders make. I've been shown by financial officers of major hospitals, it's to the advantage of the insurance companies to keep the cost of healthcare as high, to keep those revenues continuing to escalate. We need to be involved. Unless we're willing to be involved, quite frankly, you'll never, ever be able to get any kind of stability. So yes, we have to be involved. Not where it's a great deal of work, but we need to be involved, particularly when there's stockholder or public money involved.
Thank you.
So Howard, if I understand you correctly with Andrea's question, is there mainly like two large transactions for the school that we will have to manage? So the one for our budget, which is like the 30,000 roughly that you had talked about.
Yeah.
And then if we have any bill from the administrator that's going out of that insurance account.
Yeah.
So are we just looking at those two money movements for the month?
Yeah, there may be, there's one money movement for the administration and the insurance. That's your 30,000. Now, your claims can be funded weekly, twice a month, monthly, whatever you want. Normally, our groups are doing it weekly. So you get your claims activity, and you fund it. And the administrator sends everything out. So you probably would be funding, 5 activities a month if you did it weekly, 3 activities a month if you did it, twice a month.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but we recommend that the employer be in a position. I have a school district in Kansas. I meet with their committee 3 times a year. They're very proactive. We've worked with them for about 12 or 13 years. They're smaller than you guys. It's a rural district. They know what their costs are. They have income, revenue and income statements, balance sheets of their plan itself, and they manage it, like a business. And they've got a hell of a program, and their people are involved, and they get value, and they watch their dollars instead of just handing it off and saying, "Here, I don't want to do anything." And a number of districts in Kansas have benefits nowhere close to theirs at unconscionably high premiums. I hope I answered your question, Megan.
Anything
Yes, thank
else
you.
for Howard?
Anything else?
Okay, Howard, we appreciate your time this evening.
Hey, Dr. McDivitt, I'll remember it's not Dr. Highmark. But thank you. And please, any of you have any questions at all, don't hesitate whatsoever to ask. And follow us on LinkedIn, because I put our viewpoints and commentaries up there almost every day. And you'll get a good flavor for what people think of us and what we're having to say. Okay?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Aaron, if you could put the agenda back up, we're down underneath policy. There we go.
Thank you. I want to give you a check for sticking around.
Moving on down through, we're on policy 200, enrollment of students, and school board members, these are all in your Google Drive, and the highlighted bolded black are the changes. So I'm not going to read the entire policy. We'll be here for another 2 hours. So I'm just going to highlight a few areas within each policy. So the big change is homelessness and unaccompanied youth throughout the policies, as well as foster care. The district shall immediately enroll students experiencing homelessness, foster care, and other forms of educational stability. It's the big change in policy 200. 202, eligibility of non-resident students. The board may permit the admission of non-resident students in accordance with board policy. The board will not be responsible for transporting these students from any non-resident residing outside of the district boundaries. So if any non-residents want to come in, pay tuition, we'll entertain that discussion, but we're not going to transport them from, their current house. Now, students experiencing educational instability, it goes on that prospective students, if we have a family moving into the district and they secured a loan or the piece of property by July 1st, then we'll let them go ahead and get the school year started and give them a semester to become residents. If they're not residents by the time they're done with that first semester, then we'll meet with the family and potentially charge them tuition. And then finally, the other change is that if a student loses their home and they're a senior, then this policy will permit that student to graduate with their peer. Policy 204, attendance. And this just revises the compulsory age of 6 to 18. There's a few other changes. And it also works with other forms of educational stability as far as attendance. So if a student's not showing up every single day because of problems within their home, the homeless liaison here within the district will work with that student and family to provide the accommodations necessary. Graduation, 217. Students experiencing educational instability. Again, they come to our school district partway through their senior year. The administration will create a graduation plan for them and work with their current grades and place them appropriately throughout the district. Dress and grooming for pupils, policy 221. Basically, if the students are showing up and they're homeless and their particular piece of clothing does not adhere to our standards, we're going to be working with this student and provide them with a little bit of leeway. We're not going to suspend a student because they have holes in their jeans, for example. Policy 233, suspension and expulsions. There's not a whole lot of changes within here. There's just a little bit of updated language that if there's any kind of suspensions, the principals have the authority to provide anywhere from 1 day up till 10 days. If the suspension exceeds 3 days, that principal is going to set up a meeting with the parents and student and review the infraction in an informal hearing. If there's an expulsion, fortunately, we don't have very many expulsions. It would be in front of the entire school board. Any kind of formal expulsion hearing, we'll be working with the school solicitor, and the families have 15 days to set up a meeting after the notice of charges. And again, if there's a student with any kind of special education, they will be provided with their manifestation determination, and we will respect IDEA provision. Policy 251, students experiencing homelessness, foster care, and other educational instability. It just really covers a whole lot of what I've said. There's just different pieces of this policy embedded in the other ones. Just a couple definitions just so that everybody's on the same page. Foster care means 24 hours of a substitution for the children placed away from their parents. Homeless children and youth, any family who's lacking a fixed and regular adequate nighttime residence. These families, they could be sharing a house. They could be living in a hotel, motel, trailer park, or campground. They could be living in an emergency or transitional or domestic violence shelter, or abandoned at a hospital. The primary nighttime residence could be a public or private place not designated for human beings. They could be living in a car park, public access, abandoned buildings, and so on. And then another definition, school of origin, that's the last school that student was regularly enrolled in. And just to finish off that policy, our point of contact is Michelle Austin, our homeless liaison. And finishing up, if any of these students have an IEP or 504 team, they will be expedited, and we'll provide these students with the necessary accommodation. And I'll finish off with policy 810 this evening. This is transportation. Mr. Sherman and myself reviewed this, and there's really no changes. We're just preparing for the updated audit, and we're working with the contractors to implement that policy with Fidelity. Any questions on policy before we move on? Mark will provide a facilities report next week. And under transportation, we have one item, that's Dan Bailey. He's looking to add Gidget Larkin and as a substitute driver. And then as we finish up tonight, we do have some correspondence. The first one's from Ben Hamp from the Division of Subsidy Administration. And if you recall, we passed the Act 1 index stating that we will not go out for a referendum and or raise taxes beyond the tax index. And Ben Hamp confirmed that letter that it was submitted in the PDE. We also have a letter from Dr. Ferris from the UPMC Hillman Cancer Center, and he's thanking us, specifically Student Council, for donating money to the breast cancer program. Because of your generosity, our researchers remain at the forefront of the discovery. Your gifts help to provide new investigatory resources, recruiting outside researchers, and accelerating research that will launch clinical trials and improve treatments for over 140,000 patients. We also have a letter from the Division of Federal Programs, which has determined AC Valley as maintaining fiscal efforts for the year ending June 30th, 2020. So this is an MOU from, or MOE from the Bureau of Federal Programs. And then we also have the Moody's Investor Service Report, and that's an annual report that Moody's provides to the district, and we are currently ranked as a A2, which is second highest. They take a look at our fund balance, our spending, our audit work, and this particular rating could dictate any kind of interest rates if you were to go out for a loan and or a bond, which we don't have any capital projects planned at this time. But if we did, that A2 rating would give us a lower interest rate. And then as we finish up this evening, we have just a documentation from Aaron Cooperative Purchasing Group, where we had purchased paper in the past and other items. They participate with Intermediate Unit 28, Intermediate Unit 6, and IU 5. Are there any questions about the agenda, the insurance presentation, or anything else that we need to address before we conclude for this evening? Hearing nothing, we'll go ahead and conclude the workshop, and we'll see everybody face to face next Monday. Have a great week, everybody.